Lewiston is just lovely.
I saw that picture you posted of the river. Isn't it stunning the way it comes through town like that?
Yeah. And it used to be even better before they destroyed it with hydropower, but it's, yeah, there's so much going on there to improve things. It's like this river walk with all this information, murals on every street, and
sounds really nice.
Affordable housing projects happening everywhere, and kind of nice being in a place where there's still a lot that doesn't look great, and so people are, I think, more open to improvement, maybe? I don't know.
I don't think any has ever done anything with any of those old Bates Mill buildings that are just sitting on the river there. And do you know if they redeveloped any of that stuff?
They started an affordable housing project with one wing of it. We actually posted a drone shot the other day of that area, asking people, like on this Lewiston page, and
I'd imagine
there are all these interesting comments about different stuff. So yeah, one of them has been the product that you can't see from the outside that they've done anything, but
that's nice.
So
cool building.
okay, so we're good to go. We're online now.
okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Right?
Yep. Yes.
Did you folks have a chance to look at the minutes we sent on?
Yes.
So can we approve those?
I was wondering if you'd like to change the word wetlands to shoreline. What's the legal thing that they have ordinances protecting the shoreline?
Well, we do have shoreline zoning, but there are also ordinances that protect wetlands.
Well,
separately.
my complaint last time was about places along the rivers on
Right.
the shore where people have not put buffers back when stuff has been taken away. And I don't know, and Rebecca was gonna look it up.
Yeah, right.
But.
Okay, that's shoreline zoning. Yeah.
It's wetlands, but it's really, what is
That would be a shoreline zoning issue.
Zoning is really what it's about, and enforcing it.
Right, because they have all these rules about taking things down, but
do they have it about putting it back is the thing.
And Jeremy is really knowledgeable about that, and
he may need support though. I mean, that's kind of in Conservation Commission.
right, we're the complaint-based system, so you definitely have to point things out most of the time.
So the things that I've been observing, I should cover Jeremy about that. And then if the ordinance doesn't cover it, then it'd be Conservation Commission that might.
I do think, that depending on what Jeremy says, that it would be a good role for the Conservation Commission to kind of get in the habit of maybe monitoring things and bringing things to the attention of the codes and planning office sometimes.
Surveillance type monitoring, is that what you mean? Like make sure things are what they're intended to be?
If that's the only way the town responds, then that's the only.
That's unfortunately true. It's
not.
We don't have an army of town staff people going out and proactively monitoring. And so they really do respond to complaints. I personally make them on a regular basis. But kind of speak not exactly just from my own personal opinion. My own personal opinion is that, we should be like constantly out there bombarding the planning office and codes office with stuff. But maybe we could ask Jeremy sometime to talk about, he had talked, I think, with Rebecca at one point about doing some proactive documenting of the shoreline so that you can tell when people make modifications and have sort of photos of record to go back to. Some places do that. I think it's definitely an appropriate thing for the Conservation Commission to be involved with.
Right. So the assumption is, though, when a property owner, they have to comply with the Shoreland Zoning Act and the wetland. I had property on shorelands in Western Maine, and I remember how important it was to go by the rules, right? And the code enforcement officer was always, they were on the lake, driving a boat around, looking for stuff that was new and wasn't properly up, they didn't apply for a permit or whatever. So they were actively doing surveillance, right?
Yeah,
In
we
the
don't
town I
have
was in,
that.
yeah. So I think that's what you're talking about.
Mhm.
But to Beatty's point, it seems like on the agenda, perhaps it should be changed from wetlands to shoreland protection, because we are talking about the
That's all
shore
I'm saying at this point.
rather than a swamp, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For
Yeah, it sounds, this
Vernal
is something in
pool.
the minutes, was
Yeah.
this?
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like she's referring to shoreline zoning.
so should I change that?
Yeah, to shoreline zoning.
All right, so,
And Rebecca, I think will pick it up, because she said she's gonna look at the ordinance, see what was there.
right, I remember
Because
she
the
did say
state has it, and then the municipality can make it stronger. And I don't know where we are.
I do not believe that we have made anything stronger than the state.
That's that's what I think I was told.
But there are still rules in the states about revegetating after something, you know, when something's legally taken down,
Okay.
because it's a hazard. I sent Jeremy pictures the other day of somebody taking down a tree on the lake, and he hadn't been involved in that one, was gonna check and see if Clint had given them permission, but said that typically when somebody takes down a big tree that is hazardous or whatever, that he makes them plant a couple in its place, or,
That's what I think isn't happening.
I agree with you, yeah.
All right, so if we change the language on the minutes from wetlands to shoreland zoning and protection, would we accept the minutes
Yes.
with that change?
Yes.
Barb, do you want me to do that?
Actually, since I've got a different paper open, if you don't mind, just write it there and I'll just come back to it.
So you'll take?
Yeah, if you make the change, I'll change it.
All right, okay, so we're gonna accept the minutes, vote to
Yep.
accept the minutes? All right.
Do we have to make a motion? Make a motion that we accept the minutes of September
7.
7,
Thank you.
yep,
All in favor?
Did somebody second?
second,
Looks good to me.
okay. All right, so Allison, can you give us a select board liaison update, anything going on?
Yeah, I missed the last select board meeting, but they did some appointments for new members, and I believe that means that Samantha is now officially a member, and that also Trish Pendleton is a new member, and she lives over on, she's wonderful. I encouraged her a while back to put her name in for different committees, but it had been a little while. I think she marked her name down for a few, for the Historic Resources Committee, and this one. I'm hoping that once she learns that she's been put on here, she doesn't say, oh, I changed my my mind now, because I think they put her on the Historic Resources Committee too. She lives over on Rawson Ave, near the pump station, and next to that section of the river that floods a little bit sometimes. And her family's been here for ever and ever, and she's wonderful and observant and thoughtful and soft-spoken. So she has a lot of just historical knowledge and a general concern for the environment. So I'm hoping that this time will work for her. I'm not sure if it will, but So that's that.
So there were 2 vacancies, so now there's none, right? We have both filled.
I believe so,
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know, I'll have to check with Janice whether anybody's told Trish that she was appointed or.
Well, welcome aboard.
By the way.
So then also, tonight, there's a micro solid waste meeting. On the agenda is a decision, possibly a decision about the 10-year, or could be 10 years, a contract for our waste disposal. Right now, you go to the landfill in Norwich Walk, which is, the lowest thing on the state's waste hierarchy. We had a short-term contract with them. The idea being that we would see where things ended up with a couple different options in the state to see if this cooperative of 150 towns or so, which refers to themselves as the MRC, the Municipal Review Committee, if their venture got working. Basically, they have some new-ish technology. The new part of it is anaerobic digestion, and that part isn't online yet. But it basically takes another pass at the waste stream and pulls out the recyclables mechanically as much as possible. So that's sort of a big hope for the northern-ish part of the state. The southern part of the state uses Eco-Maine, which is the incinerator that we used to go to that makes electricity. So tonight we have 2 proposals. One is to sign another 10-year contract with the landfill that's owned by Waste Management, which is a private company. And the other one is to rejoin the group of many other municipalities that has a board that sort of cooperatively runs this other one. Right now, that facility is still not operational because there's a whole long history there, but they now have been purchased by the company that's going to run it, and they're anticipating taking waste again in 2025. Until then, they have a contract with the same landfill that we're going to right now. So basically, it's kind of a big decision. If we commit to another 10 years of just doing the worst type of landfilling, which, there's no real methane gas collection or anything all that
Just
great.
gets dumped in a hole?
Yeah, basically. It's a properly licensed landfill. It's not like putting it in our landfill up
Right.
here.
Is it still taking out-of-state construction waste?
All of those issues still exist with this, the
So
landfills.
it's filling up from out-of-state too.
Yeah, and then
There's the PFAS mix that says it needs, Hawk Ridge says it needs the out-of-state solid waste.
yeah, that's Juniper Ridge especially, but yeah, we could talk for hours and hours about all of those issues, and I love talking about it. But the Conservation Commission really probably we don't have a Conservation Commission over at Micro Solid Waste. So it's, in the past, the board has wanted to go with like a sure thing that we know is going to run. It's going to be the cheapest possible thing, and that's been the landfill. And so my personal feeling is that the only hope for our state is that we work with other municipalities that are trying to do something better. And sometimes that's a little bit messy. at first. We had a 30-year contract with PERC, which was, a waste to energy incinerator. Plenty to criticize about waste to energy and burning the trash and all of that, but it's considered better than, just straight landfilling. And so, actually Europe really counts it as like total recycling. That's how they have such high numbers. But if everybody just does what we're doing, what we have been doing, and says, well, we want to wait until everybody else figures it out, then there's never enough mass to create a solution. You have to, in order for there to be a solution like what they have in Portland, you have to have a commitment of enough tonnage that's going to go through the facility to make it economically viable. And so I've been following this municipal review committee group for years and years, and while they haven't been perfect, I don't see that the state is ever going to do better in terms of, it has an elected board of people that are really quite knowledgeable trying to come up with a solution. So the price is a little bit higher to go with this cooperative, but I'm hoping the board might choose to go with that rather than, if we make another 10-year commitment to just landfilling, it really makes it difficult financially for anything else to compete with that. So
just
that's
to
tonight.
be clear, that's yellow bags and stuff that goes in the dumpster at the waste site, right? So our landfill, though, has a limited life left expectancy, right? Like another couple of years or something?
They've been saying 5 to 7 years
Always had.
for.
So it gets taller and taller.
Well, the thing is, it's about 200 feet deep and filled with water.
Yep.
And so it settles in a way that's less predictable than the average landfill.
Yeah.
So what we found is that settling continues to occur in unpredictable ways. They, for about 20 years, they kept saying it was 5 to 7 years left. Now our latest estimate actually said it was more like 8 to 20 years. So, that depends on a lot of things. We're having major problems over there with water because we pump about 50,000 gallons a day from there, and the more rain we get, the more we pump, and trying to keep water from going into the waste-filled landfill. We also have very high PFAS levels in there, so it may at some point become smart to try to actually fill it up faster so that it could be capped so that less water gets in there, but we're not at that point yet. So yeah, that's all of our construction debris. Only construction debris goes in there.
Right.
All of the municipal.
But that's off the table for this 10-year contract we're talking about.
Oh yeah, we can't put municipal solid waste.
Yep.
They call that MSW, the stuff that goes in our yellow bags.
Yep.
So that all has to go to a secure landfill. So that's one of the options. The other option would be a contract with this company or with this, group of towns that is basically right now they're all doing the same exact thing that we are, right. But it should be, their plant was operational before the pandemic, and then it had to shut down because of bankruptcy and a bunch of stuff, but now it'll be back up and running. And that part of it runs things through and pulls out like plastic and metal and all that stuff. That's all technology that is working well everywhere. The part of the facility that people have been skeptical of and saying that it's, might not work is the more ambitious gas collection system that would, then be used to put into the like natural gas pipelines for Bangor Hydro and stuff like that. But it wouldn't hurt to let the if it's anything that anybody cares about, to let the Midco Solid Waste Board know that if you see value in, working with other municipalities for a regional solution that is better than landfilling, and that even if that costs a little bit more, that it's a good investment. Or you can come to the meeting too. It's that'll be tonight here at 6:30. I'll also be on Zoom.
Okay.
So
Can you just
Where
email
is it?
Midco Solid Waste? Is there an email address on the town website, or is it a separate?
I think they have a new email that's board@Midco Solid Waste.
Okay, see if I can find it. I have a couple of questions for you, Allison, about that. Where does, you mentioned that the water gets pumped out of the transfer station. Where does that water go? Like, what do you do with that water?
It goes to the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay. And then, is anybody in the state doing anything about, like, separating food waste, the food waste stream out of garbage? Because I think that's a large percentage, isn't it, of garbage?
Yeah.
Stuff we throw away.
And that's why, that's sort of the reason that when this group of municipalities looked at, when they knew their contract with PERC was expiring and PERC wasn't going to be able to work anymore and this old incinerator, they looked at, okay, well, what's the waste stream made up of and what's going to be reasonable? And for a lot of these smaller towns, like curbside collection, like separate food curbside collection of everything is just not feasible, realistic. And so they said, okay, well, we can continue to encourage everybody to do whatever kind of composting programs that they can work in their own communities. But for the stuff that does end up in the, in your yellow bags or the equivalent in other places, what's a better use of that? And so that's where this digestion part of it comes in. So the idea is that, everything that goes in goes through this first front end mechanical sorting where you pull out the recyclables, and then the things that are left over, it gets ground into this like pulp type of substance that can then be digested to try to take advantage of all the organic material, like the diapers and all of that kind of stuff that even with your best composting programs, you're still going to end up with some of that in the waste stream. So that's part of it. And then I know there are grant programs and stuff for trying to improve composting, and we have programs like Scrap Dogs where everybody gets it. You can take that to the transfer station for free. That'll actually be was going to be on the agenda for this time. I think it'll be next time, is the contract with Scrap Dogs. And believe it or not, that was extremely difficult to get past a few years ago. Even though it was a very good deal for the towns, there was concern that it hadn't gone out to bid and some things like that.
Scrap Dogs?
Yeah, they almost quit because it was just such a miserable experience.
Seems like a no-brainer.
It took 4 meetings to get that approved. But anyway, I don't think that would happen now. Beatty's familiar with the historical Midco Solid Waste Board. It can be
Since 1976. All the different reiterations and trying to do what the gasifying people are trying to do. It just keeps failing.
They tried to do that here, though, on site, which
Which was a fiasco.
I know, but they've progressed since. We're not proposing to do that here. There are these pictures of Harvey Huff had this idea of composting all of our trash. But it was like a mixture of literally like all of the trash.
And plastic as well.
Yeah, all the plastic and he had this big thing and to tumble stuff. It was, the beginnings of an idea. but it didn't go well, and it was, because they had been told that they needed to stop burning the trash.
It gave us
In the
some
70s.
break from the burning.
Right, so they said, okay, we're gonna come up, the board, like, after being told, you can't do the thing where you've been burning it, they would burn it all, and then they'd put it all in the quarry. And they were told for years this wasn't okay, the EPA, like, their thing was gonna come in like 1977, where you couldn't do that anymore. Open burning had to stop, so they were like, okay, the Micro-Solid Waste Board, we've come up with this plan, to avoid all of that, and it's gonna involve composting the trash and the EPA, there's all this correspondence.
That
It's
sounds like a PFAS nightmare.
It was magical thinking.
so many nightmares, they just have never wanted to accept that they couldn't keep filling up the second hole. Like they wanted for years, you know, the open water part,
Yeah.
the board still has not agreed to withdraw their application for landfill expansion. It only comes up every few years. I actually don't believe, like, if you talk to this board right now, I don't think, and you said, do you think we should put trash in that hole there, or with the water? I don't think anybody would be like, I think most people wouldn't say that we should continue to pursue that. But every time we get to the point where we're about to sign the consent agreement with DEP, agreeing to eventually close the landfill and all this stuff, they get it in their head that we shouldn't withdraw that application because it's like a leverage point, and they want DEP to pay for us to close the landfill. But we killed any chances of that years ago by refusing to agree to close the landfill, and instead just spending hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to keep it going. So anyway, it's been the problem with it's most people get on the select boards in the 4 towns, and they have their things that they care about, like reducing taxes or whatever, and then 2 people from each of the 4 towns end up sort of drawing the short end of the stick or the short straw, and they end up on the Micro-Solid Waste Board. They're like, oh, you know, it's not
Glamorous.
it's not people, it generally doesn't, the way there's no direct path to being on that board.
Yeah.
So it doesn't tend to draw people that are like passionate about waste. You end up with people that are on select boards busy with other things, and then they're like, ugh, this place, the transfer station just keeps calling, we just don't need any more problems at the transfer station, and so they try
We
to.
have a hole, let's fill it.
Right, and it should be simple, and anyway. It can be very tiring to participate. That's the only reason I wanted to be on the select board, was to get on the Micro-Solid Waste Board. And I'm sometimes too tired to fight for all those things. But anyway, that meeting's tonight.
Okay.
Anything else particularly?
I've gotten a bunch of inquiries about the Greenfield subdivision, where all those trees were taken down on Chestnut Street.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing that continues to be a problem for this actually came up in the Historic Resources Committee too, because one thing that continues to be a problem is like the subdivisions that a town has that were approved years and years ago. They all come with DEP-approved stormwater plans, and oftentimes the town has accepted the road that that goes through the subdivision as a town-owned road, and we plowed and all that stuff. But, and so sometimes at that point, the homeowners association kind of ceases to be a thing, or they have like a little bit of common space, or they have deed restrictions. And in the case of the Greenfield subdivision over on Linden Lane and Chestnut Street, next to the transfer station, they never formed a homeowners association. And so some of the things in the approved stormwater plan had things like a 50-foot buffer of pine trees on Chestnut Street, and they were completely failed stormwater.
So you're talking about on the corner of Chestnut and Greenfield where all those trees were taken down?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it turns out that that's actually was part of, those trees were
Or
a buffer in that plan.
Oh, I see.
So it's a violation of that. but it's, nobody notices unless somebody complains. Actually, Samantha brought this up to me, and I know she contacted the DP maybe
So
to
who
ask
owns the
about.
responsibility?
Jeremy was also going to be checking on the enforcement of that, because there was planning board approval and
There's a
DEP.
stone wall too that I think they want to take out. which is
They were,
historic.
yes, and did you see the emails from Pat Scaling?
And that's
was-
a barrier too.
Yeah, but the only reason that this is, it's the only reason anybody's noticing is because somebody noticed, and it was citizens, not.
Right.
It's really hard for everybody, them to know in there, everything that it says in like
No,
every
I-
deed, or
Yeah, I mean, who took the trees down? Did someone buy the piece of land and?
somebody bought the lot there, cleared the trees, then tried to get a driveway on Chestnut Street, and that's part of the Greenfield subdivision.
Now, another thing I've always thought is that real estate people, or somebody should tell people who buy something what's involved. Like the right of way, there's all these different things that they have no way of knowing unless the real estate people or the town tell them.
But
Yeah,
before
and that's
somebody
what like title research is supposed to be too.
purchases something, you'd think they'd do due diligence to make sure they could develop it, right? I mean, that just seems like kind of common sense.
But if it's not working, how do you make it work?
Mm.
Yep,
Yeah.
I mean, one thing is to just having people from the Conservation Commission could be reviewing all the listing, could be looking at you, and I've thought about trying to put, like, when you see a for sale sign go up, like putting a little sign that says, like, this property suffers from flooding, occasional flooding.
Yay.
My interest was Blueberry Spring, out of town, but this in town, they don't know.
Yep, and then they can do massive landscaping projects, and the only thing that triggers like major review is, by the planning board, is new commercial buildings, 1,000 square feet or more, because that, I think when the zoning ordinance was developed, that was seen as, you know, like the major risk, like, oh, you know, a bunch of commercial stuff, and that's what should get major review. But in terms of, you know, impact to natural resources, we have very little in terms of new commercial buildings going up. We have major landscaping projects and renovations and things like that. So that is just, you know, in the background all the time, that sometimes having the Conservation Commission write to the DP about, you know, it would be good if, you know, monitoring subdivision plans, and the Historic Resources Committee was asking a lot about this, but it's also a Conservation Commission issue, and I think if anybody notices things around town, it is appropriate to bring that to the Conservation Commission, sometimes even, you know, to write a letter saying that there's a concern. So.
Yeah, there's no formal process to do that, though.
Exactly. So you have to kind of invent the process sometimes.
So what do you think we should do about it? Like, it's just an innocent question. How do
I don't
we,
know if you need to do anything.
yeah, how do we make it stick?
For this particular property?
Or for the future? Like, what do you
I think that you
suggest?
should recommend that the planning board should develop a more stringent review process for the types of projects
Right.
that are most impacting.
So
the town.
that could be a suggestion we could make to them, though, right?
And I mean, it could go along with shoreline zone, you know, you could
Right.
make recommendations on zoning changes for the planning board. And then the other thing is the pier stuff is gonna come back up.
Yeah, that's the town meeting, right? There's the vote.
That's actually still just kicking the can down the road a little bit more, because it's not gonna deal with whether or not, it's gonna leave the moratorium in place on new residential piers, but it's gonna allow it's gonna allow existing piers to be raised higher.
Why is that a benefit to us?
It's not.
I don't think it is. I mean, I think if a pier falls down, that's it, clean up and you're up, end of story.
I agree. I have not been successful in getting my colleagues to agree with me on that one.
Or maybe we can make a recommendation that all piers in Hart be taken down, all private piers be removed. We could start there.
It sometimes does make sense to start, because then the compromise ends up being,
Well, we never should have been put that first.
Grandfather for a little while.
No,
5
no,
years or
no,
something.
no. They have 2 years to take them down, clean
I
it.
agree.
Okay, 1 year.
I kind of.
I see where you're going with this.
6 months,
That's a
6
good-
months.
Keep talking, 2 months.
Yeah.
The other thing that is being rooted about, and I hope it doesn't, is the idea of the barrier across.
the breakwater.
Yeah, breakwater.
Well, we need that, BD, if we're gonna have all these piers, they need to be protected from waves.
Oh,
Protect us
please.
from ourselves.
But I think there's, the push hasn't stopped on that.
Well, yes, the harbor committee continues to discuss that, but it hasn't come to the select board recently. I think cost is gonna be a pretty big barrier for that. But, yeah,
It's not gonna happen.
Okay. Dave's obviously not here.
Wait, can I ask one more question of the select board? Can you give is there any update to the tree poisoning on Bayview Street? Is there anything new in that? I mean, I know there was a settlement between the two parties in question, but is the town gonna be doing anything, or is it still waiting for the state to make the decision or something, or anything gonna be replanted?
I've been meaning to ask about that too, because, hi. I could ask her.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Hi.
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 Good to see you all.
Yeah.
You too.
Oh, no, they were just asking, and if it's not the appropriate place to answer the question, that's fine, about whether there was any update on the tree killing next to Lake Beach. I know we had discussed that.
I mean, what's the last thing everyone knew about with that?
Well, there was the private party settlement,
Yep.
and then there's the town
Oh,
part that
our
we.
settlement?
Are we gonna have a settlement?
Yes, so we're going back and forth with their attorneys now, and I think that it's really just, they're just stalling a little bit, but I think that it's pretty much finalized. So it'll go to the select board pretty soon.
And then the state is going to be involved in some capacity?
They already did their part of it. So it went to the Board of Pesticide Control, and they gave them I think it was a less than $4,000 fine.
So supposedly like the highest in.
That was, and that, for them, that was big, a big deal.
Could write a letter to them saying that I think
That's
that's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
They had too low fines for a long time.
Mhm.
But they do hate that kind of thing. I mean, it really makes them mad, so they probably did their best.
And are they continuing to test like the soils and the water around Lake Beach to just determine if there's any lasting?
So the state's not, but we built that in as part of our agreement with them, our settlement agreement, is that we're gonna continue to do soil sampling.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think that, I think we're there. It's just a matter of, and we're trying to move them along so that by the next select board meeting, which is the 8th of November, we have something that we can bring to the board.
Great.
So, yeah, it'll all be completely public, but definitely the soil sampling was pretty important to, I think, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so sorry for.
Good timing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess it was a good time. All right, bye.
I have another question for you, Allison. I don't know if you can speak to this or not, because I think it's more of a planning board thing maybe, but maybe you want to share your thoughts or just say no. But one of the items that we're going to be voting on the 7th is the zoning law changes to allow more density. And I was reading a bunch of different things that say that allowing more housing density, changing zoning laws to allow more housing density doesn't actually probably will make more housing available, but it's not going to be, doesn't necessarily, or at all, make housing affordable. It usually ends up being something.
Like the Knoxville condos.
Yeah.
Short-term
And so I'm kind of at this point sort of thinking it's not a good idea to.
Maybe we should save that for, so I could, let me remind myself about that came to us, but it was a while ago, and
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly
Okay. Yeah.
what. I know I've had that concern in the past, I just can't, I don't want to bias anybody without being sure of what I'm saying.
Fine, yeah. I just was sort of wondering how, maybe.
I know the
how-
intentions for all of it are definitely good.
Yeah.
And some of it is just to comply with the state's mandate. And I know that the planning board discussed it pretty
Yeah.
extensively. The chair of the planning board, Ethan Shaw, and then the vice chair, I believe, is Chris O'Rowe. I usually find them to be pretty responsive, and it would be worth just reaching out to either of them and asking maybe if there's a particular meeting on YouTube that they could direct you to that would cover any of it, or they're really thoughtful and smart, and I find they like public input quite a bit, and
Yeah.
they are responsive to it. That whole board, actually, it's such a complicated topic, but they really like it when, it's not just property owners that are giving feedback, but, I find that when you send them articles and things like that, they read them, and so that might be a good place to start.
Okay, thank you.
But we're voting on this.
Yeah, I've got to look over that. That's a
Yeah.
good reminder.
Yeah, it just.
It's like the
several
accessory
items.
dwelling unit thing and
Yeah.
it dramatically increases the density of housing in the
It
village.
reduces lot sizes.
Is there a select board meeting before the election?
No, we already reviewed all of this. I'm just having
Well,
trouble.
No, I'm talking about, there is that time to stand up and say something,
Mhm.
and that, it goes online. I mean, it's kind of like for a letter to the editor,
Yeah.
but.
I think when this came up, I said something similar, that they should include a provision that new housing created by the ordinance has to be, can't be a short-term rental. And they said they had no way of enforcing that or something to that effect, and that they were tackling the short-term rental thing comprehensively, separately. And I said I didn't have a lot of faith that was actually going to end up happening, because it's such a controversial issue that it's really hard. And usually boards end up kind of backing away from it because it feels so painful. But I haven't watched a bunch of those planning board meetings recently, so I don't really.
Yeah, well, I know I did watch the one that they were discussing short-term rentals, but I completely missed this whole thing.
In general, though, density is good. I mean, in the downtown, in these areas where we already have water and sewer.
Yeah.
And the
It's just
smaller.
getting the other piece in of it's gonna be short-term rental, the people ought to be living there. And that cuts down on this buying everything up. Because you can't live in all those places at the same time. But anyway,
Yeah, it's a tough one.
it's a financial thing.
The accessory dwelling units, though, usually are adding something on to an existing dwelling that's.
Oh, I understand that. It just, the two go together, so they can
Yeah.
protect at the same time as town.
I agree. We should write to the planning board and say that.
I've written,
They
stood up and said it.
recently?
Oh, no, it's probably a year ago.
Oh, just keep, it's good, new people come on all the time, and it's good to just keep at it. Tell them you support they were gonna ban short-term rentals. And they got a lot of pushback, but the reasoning behind it was sound. Just me not, I think they're compromising on some of that right now, but.
What did they consider short-term? Do you remember?
I think it's, right now, we have we don't allow less than 7 days right now. I think it's less than 30 days is technically
You don't allow less than 7 days?
right.
Well, it's the
I know that happens.
owner occupied,
Owner occupied, right.
which is you live in your house and you can rent it out for a weekend, as long as you are at the house.
Yep,
And then there's the short-term rental, which is you don't have to be in the house, but you have to rent it for at least
At
1
least
week,
mhm.
right?
How do they enforce it? Because I know a few Airbnbs in the street now.
Well, I live on Alden Street.
It's
and
the
there's
complaint-based
all
system.
kinds of stuff
Oh,
going
really?
on there. It's just, yeah, so
So you
that's,
basically have to be willing to complain about it, and then
Yeah.
you send them, find the listing, you send the listing to them, and then they, if they can book it for less than 7 days. The thing, though, is that they also do allow people, as long as you're not turning it over like 2 days, then 2 days, and 2 days. If you do like 2 days and then it's empty for 5 days, they allow that as sort of like the spirit of the law. But if they don't allow the quick switchovers, but like you said, almost impossible to enforce, or I don't know. It's been almost impossible for them to enforce. Because a lot of the time you don't have the addresses either, so it takes local knowledge.
I don't understand why we let that happen, not being able to contact people who are in charge of different properties in town. That just seems insane. The town or anybody else, the real estate people.
We have the, the tax database, so we
It's
can
an address with LLC attached.
very
A
often,
lawyer somewhere.
yeah, and they don't respond, and
Yeah, it's.
then we passed an ordinance that said
really
everybody has to
very
register. We did this whole registration thing, we were just gonna get a handle on it by counting them all, just
Yeah.
registration requirement, we also, okay, we also get police concern, blah, 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 and then they've had that, and now they say it's impossible to enforce or something like that.
Well, that requires legislation and ordinances.
Well, we passed one, but I guess not the right one. Now they've said that if there are these like companies that scour the internet and they do the enforcement for you. It's really frustrating. It's almost like you need somebody in that office that just really knows all the houses, that like grew up here and can be like, that's that house. You can go on Airbnb and be like,
They're
that's that
playing
house.
tricks, they're just tricksters, and they just keep going. I mean, being invisible, anonymity, just doesn't help communities.
well, there's two really separate situations. One of them is, I think there is, where there's a Camden resident who has a property and they want to rent it out for a weekend or a week. And then there's speculators who live somewhere else who buy all kinds of properties for an investment, and they don't live here, they're not invested in the community, right? Yeah, invested in terms of care about the community, the neighborhood, whatever. And that's a big problem, I think, right?
That's what you want.
That's not the folks who want to make a few extra bucks that,
There's in between there, people who live here who buy properties. But,
yeah, right.
And that's what you'll find is the major thing when you do this, and then the people that come to the meetings, it's like, oh, that's my son's best friend's mom. And
Yeah,
it's a lot of people, honestly, that somebody in the family dies and they want to eventually live in Camden, so they decide to hold on to the property and they just rent it in the meantime to pay the taxes because they want to spend a couple weeks up here maybe and eventually move here. A lot of people that want to eventually move here. And
they don't want to rent it out long term.
right. Well, they end up not, because they want to be able to, sometimes they want to like spend a weekend here or something, I find. And so it's hard because they don't, like, the people don't fit into like an easy to demonize group, but it still kind of has the same effect that, you know, otherwise that those properties would have gone on the market, but they're able to make so much money. So, you know, creating some kind of financial incentive to push these things into the long-term market rather than the short-term.
So the intentions aren't bad, but it still affects the community.
Yeah.
We still have a really major shortage.
Like my dad's house, when we sold that on Spruce Street, the people that bought it are lovely people, and they have family here and they visit. They're here some of the time and they're like working on eventually moving to Camden, but it's vacant a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a lot of that kind of stuff.
Shades of gray.
Yeah.
It's probably best not, it's probably good that it's not easy to demonize. I mean, that's probably
Right.
good practice, good exercise for us all. You know, it's like a side note. But.
Right, it's like the majority of it isn't like the ones that are owned by some big corporation that don't live here. That's
Yeah.
actually very small.
Like a housing mill.
Right.
Things like people like at their computers making money,
Right.
doing nothing. Yeah.
We need some big apartment buildings, I think, you know, that are like 4 or 5 stories, and like that's how they really make a dent in housing.
Yeah.
Zoning changes for that too.
Rooming houses on Atlantic Avenue, you're probably too young to remember, but they were ramshackle places where people actually.
I have a rooming
lived
house, actually.
very cheap.
I rent rooms out in my house.
I think they burned.
We share a kitchen. It works great. I pay the mortgage with it. I was thinking about trying to write more about how that works. People have,
I think.
it works because there's so many people that are desperate. You can find people that are really good. And, you know, even if they're, ours share a kitchen with us, and we've had many people over the years, and it works. It works
I'm about
great.
to go down to 40 paper and say, look, I can take somebody in one of my bedrooms if you get behind them and you know, if there's any kind of problem. And, you know, Long Grain's really close too, and I even could do 2 bedrooms, but I think, well, I've had people just stay for free.
Oh.
You know, but I don't know, I'll see what they say. It's not that I want somebody, it's that I've got empty rooms.
Yeah.
You know?
I put stuff on Craigslist and I just say exactly who we are, what, you know, and say that it's not a good fit for everybody, but we get so many inquiries that.
I've had people come to the door
Me too.
Come to the door? Is that what you said?
asking if I had a room that they might stay in.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, Brian, I think I'm only helping you to.
No, it's
things
good.
off.
Well, any other, I have some questions too, but anyone else?
I think I've.
This is
Well-
very fun for me just to talk
Well,
about.
let's-
The no agenda meeting.
I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, no agenda meeting led by a brainless
Rebecca would not be
moderator.
pleased, I don't think.
So, I have a couple of questions which are not related to any of these other topics, and that are probably better Dave questions, but I think you can probably help us. I first want to make a comment. I got the Snowball newsletter, and there's a link to the Camden Parks and Recreation. I guess it's a new website.
Mhm.
It is really cool. Have you guys seen it?
No.
Holly
It-
sent that to me, and Holly.
It is really
put a bunch of work
cool.
into it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's awesome. I looked at it and I said, oh my
Holly's
God,
gonna love to hear that.
I didn't even realize this existed. It's got a lot of good information about, you know, the different public parks, the places that you wouldn't know have public access around Sherman's Cove and different places.
Mhm.
You can go down to the water. It has information on trails, some trails I didn't even know of.
Oh, wow.
and I'm not saying I would know of all the trails, but information of just, skateboard park, all kinds of stuff. So if you were a visitor here for the weekend or a week, and you wanted to know, hey, what can I do with my family? There's like Barrett's Cove, some of the places we already know about, but the boat launch on Route 105, it's all kinds of stuff. And it's nicely organized in a way that you can navigate through logically. It's not like, it's really nice. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Great.
That's so nice to hear. And
Yeah. Oh, Holly did,
Holly Anderson, yep, who's the
Yep.
Assistant Parks and Rec Director.
it's really nice. So,
Instead of having it on the town, they've done their own.
yeah.
I mean, it links to, it links from the towns, but,
It's I
so she
gotta,
doesn't have to ask
Yeah.
for everybody else to make
Yeah.
changes and stuff, and they do some of that with like the Opera House, and takes an ambitious staff person to,
yeah, somebody who knows what they're doing. But so there's a component of somebody who really understands how to build a website. And there's a component of people who really know the town and can help create the wiring diagram that goes in, the content that goes into it. And the content's really nice, got some nice maps, pictures, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Is this CamdenParksandRec.com?
Uh,
I think so.
Camden's, so it's not
Maybe.
Camden Snowball, because Camden Snowball.
Yeah,
I just had it, Camden. If you go to the town website, it's CamdenParksandRec.com. Yeah, that's it.
that's it.
I think it is, yeah.
they're only missing one thing, that was the Sherman's Point public access point. But,
Yeah,
Oh, so that's not on there?
no,
it's sort of more controversial.
Yeah,
it's really, they seem to think that, but,
right, but it's legitimate public access.
Yeah.
it is, it's not
People there.
inviting public access or
Right.
anything of those things,
I
but
think
it's-
I've been there with Rebecca. You could sprain your ankle going down to the water, right? That's the one you mean?
there are a couple like that, but,
Yeah, well, yeah, anyway,
it's the one that doesn't have a sign.
yeah, we did an invasive plant thing down, well, a couple like that down on Sherman's Cove.
There are
That were-
two that are marked on Sherman's Cove and one that is not, if you go all the way down Sherman's Point Road.
Okay, so that was just a
That's great.
paid political announcement. This brings up the greater issue of our website, the Conservation Commission thing, which Pamela, you sent out an email about the brochure you did, which is awesome.
Thanks.
And then, I'm kind of babbling here, but it seems like we need some capability to build our presence on the town website somehow, right? And we've talked about this like 50 times, but nothing's ever happened.
How are you with that?
Well, how do we make it happen? How do we,
Do you have
I mean-
any expertise in that department?
I mean, I have like a lot of experience, but also know it's really involved.
yeah, I
So,
don't know if you want to get,
I mean, you need things like, you need to get set up, you need passwords and stuff like that, which is always harder. I mean, just always harder. And then you need somebody to keep it up to date. You need to decide on content, where's it gonna live, that kind of thing.
well, the DPW website has some, if you look at there's a link that says shade tree, I don't know if I've got all the language right. On the if you go to the town website, you go to the Department of Public Works, you'll see a shade tree link. I think it's shade tree or something like that.
Yeah.
And in there, if you go to that, and I was gonna bring this up with Dave, but since he's not here, I'll bring it up anyway. Why not?
Discuss.
There's a,
You could see Dave tonight if you go to the Micro Solid Waste meeting.
he's not gonna wanna talk to me.
He might be happy to have a supporter.
It would be cool if we could kind of get linked into that. A lot of the stuff we're doing seems like it's still, that's very relevant. We've been kind of dancing around this whole topic of how do we create the capability for people to sign up for a tree, right? It would be cool to have some ability to do that, like what kind of trees do we offer, all that. Where are the trees, I mean, I'm just, like I said,
There could be a forum online.
I'm babbling,
That's
yeah,
what we were
right,
talking about, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And, yeah, shade tree information, okay, so if you go to that link, there's information on invasive beetles and this and that. I mean, this could be like organized with some of our stuff. I can see it, I can kind of see how this could all work and be really coherent, and so, but I have no idea how would we facilitate this? Allison, do you have any suggestions, like, who's the keeper of all this stuff? How do we, I keep looking at you, and I don't mean to be doing that.
No,
I don't know who else to look at this point.
I mean, I have the ability to make changes on the town website.
Well, you're busy.
That's true.
I mean, not that,
So it's almost, you kind of covered some of it with the snowball or the Parks and Rec stuff. The path that Holly chose to take might be informative in terms of.
like how she got it done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just trying to say that my guess is that she decided that, like, hassling whoever is in charge of the official town website may have been more trouble than it was worth, or just,
I'm sure it's
not the path of least resistance. And so she said, I'm gonna make my own website and tell them to link to it. I don't know that for sure, but so it can be, what we don't want to have to do is just like constantly update that.
Right.
But I think when we went through this before, it was like, if you want to make specific requests, then we can put those on
Do we have someone who's a website, the person who builds the website, I know.
So do you know
Sam,
what?
I know you have some capabilities to do this stuff.
Yeah.
But, it could be like a huge amount of work.
Well, I mean, I also don't know, like, is there like a communications person who like manages the website and has the strategy, or is it just sort of like?
There's not the possibility of it being like really well designed on it is not really there. It's gonna be like, you can put links up and say, here's a list of things we want on there, but saying like, can we, I was trying to pull this up actually like, if we just want to look at it.
I mean,
right now.
I can see like,
If you say we want links to these
wherever that
reports.
shade tree link is for shade tree information, I could see stuff on like the emerald ash borer, the work that Louisa did on there. I could see an application for a shade tree if you want one. I could see like a little write-up on some of Camden's oldest trees, which Nancy Johnson and her husband, they did a nice brochure. I could see all kinds of stuff just kind of consolidated there in an organized, well-written wiring diagram that you could like point to we could point to it from our website, right? Because one of the frustration I have with this whole ArcGIS database thing that we've talked about, which is another question we're gonna have, is about Caitlin, is it would be nice if all that stuff lived somewhere in an organized way that didn't require a computer genius to get to use it, and I'm not suggesting they'd go in and edit it and modify it. I'm just saying a place where You know,
You post it like a.
yeah, I live on, you know, I don't know, C Street, and I wanna say, oh, what are the trees on my street? I mean, like, are there any specimen ash trees on my street? Where have the shade trees been planted? You know I think you know where I'm going with this, right? And then when we
Central
go,
location.
yeah, when we go out and do our survey work, that's where Caitlin comes in. We need a way to get the data and validate the data. That's a lot easier than using the database, which, you know, works, but it's pretty kludgy.
I'm not sure what you mean by Caitlin.
Caitlin Thompson, she's the assistant.
Oh, yeah, I know Caitlin.
All right, one point, we had a meeting, a CCC meeting, and Audra mentioned that Caitlin, as sort of a speciality, was interested in the ArcGIS database and might be helpful to us to be able to go in and make some tweaks in it so we could utilize it to, is that it? You're looking like, that's what, and Dave mentioned it even last meeting we had. You weren't here, I don't think. You guys recall that?
Yeah, so Caitlin, well, I can find out, Kate.
And
I hope that's
Dave was
not-
gonna talk to Caitlin and say, yada, 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 and, you know, just to get the ball rolling, because what we decided
We have
in
a
the
really
last.
capable company doing, so this was what I was gonna show. We have like this hub, like our GIS hub that
Yep,
Aaron created.
yeah, right,
Which is based on, so it's like a place where you can go for all of the stuff now.
Yep.
Like a bunch of different things that we,
Where did you have? Can
is
you send
that,
us that link? That on the town website?
is that,
Yeah, Camden made it.
that's not, there's the app on the iPhone app, right?
yeah, so this is just a way to access all of that.
Yep.
You know, from a,
How did you get there?
This is the field maps, this field maps app, I remember you showed
yes,
us.
so that's linked to all of this. So this is the,
Yep.
you know, Camden Street Trees viewer.
Yep,
And it's a way, we're trying to consolidate all of the different GIS needs, things that people are trying to access, like printable maps and, so that's, I don't know, maybe Caitlin is taking over some aspect of that. I knew she was taking a course. What we've advocated for in the past has been making sure that we have enough money in our budget so that, like Aaron, the person that developed our, CAI is the company that has
Yep.
been developing these apps for us. And they can make changes based on our requests, which they've done a number of times.
and their platform is this ArcGIS, Dave mentioned Axis or something, I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. So Esri is like the biggest GIS company in the world, and they have ArcGIS, which is like the software that does all of this mapping. And then there are other companies that basically just specialize in using all of that and providing all of that data in different ways. And in the same way that you can be an architect and become an expert in AutoCAD and all of that, there's GIS. You could study that for the rest of your life and
Right.
never, so the town, all that parcel data and all that stuff is in there. But we use like an ArcGIS mobile app to put in all of our tree and stormwater data and stuff out in the field.
That's the one that we used when we went out
Yes,
for a hike review.
Axis is the parcel viewer that we use, that is a proprietary thing from CAI. That is, if you go on the town's website, and for some reason I can't see my cursor, but that's like, it's just a different way of viewing it all.
Yep.
That if you go here and you go, I don't know how much any of this is really necessary CAI has software called Access, which is basically just a different way of viewing all the same data that's in ArcGIS.
Okay,
ArcGIS is the more like complex software
Yep.
that people that manipulate mapping data use. And we've been kind of working with different,
so our Access lives over that and uses that as a platform to do the rendering and all the other stuff? Is that, I think,
yeah.
all right,
So for some things we use it's just different ways of viewing all of the data based on different needs. Some people want to be able to download like the shape files or but.
well, here's, I guess, I don't feel like I'm doing a very good job of explaining the problem.
Okay.
Here's the, I'm gonna build a situation.
Okay.
Pam and I wanna go out on a Wednesday and Louisa Crane's, all of that emerald borer stuff's been migrated into this, whatever this database is, ArcGIS, the one that's on there, the shade tree stuff, but all the trees that Louisa, I've identified in the village in her report from 2017 have magically been migrated into this. And then what we want to do is we want to go out and we want to build an inventory of the current situation for all the ash trees in the village or wherever Louisa's. We also want to go out and we want to do an inventory of the existing planted trees. And we want to put this stuff all together so we can just go out with our phone or print out a report, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna go down the streets and we're gonna look on, 12, Pearl Street, there's on Louisa's report, there's a specimen ash tree, and we look, oh, there it is, yep, still there, looks good, check.
Okay.
We go to C Street, tree isn't there anymore, what happened, right? I mean, so we can migrate the data into this, then we can use it as a platform so that we can do breakout groups and go out and,
Okay, yeah.
or maybe Barb and Sam want to go out, or
Yeah.
but this,
Yeah, so we
We
had
can
given
take-
Aaron
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Louisa's database at one point. That's how it magically got in there. And
But it's not in this yet, right?
I'm not seeing it
Yeah,
here.
no, I don't think it is.
So, okay, so that's all.
So
We just need to follow up.
So the
and-
just so I can close
Yeah.
the loop, make sense out of all this nonsense I'm creating, this chaos and pandemonium, is where Caitlin came in the picture was, oh, maybe Caitlin can help us do that because she's taken this ArcGIS course or, whatever. So that's where.
In the field,
What's that?
in the field, because what Rebecca
No.
suggested was you and I and Louisa and Caitlin, the four of us
Oh.
go out and,
But we weren't gonna do that until the stuff was in the database, right?
yeah.
I think where we left it last meeting was Dave, we
Oh my
decided
gosh,
why
this,
we.
yeah, Dave told me there was something all messed up with this that was
Oh.
not, I mean, I don't want to say it. Let me just I believe this is very simple, that the same person that has been making all the other adjustments to our app.
Yep.
Like every time we've said we wanted something, and that's, in my opinion, happened pretty well, we should just have him do that.
I think it would be good if we could even meet with him and explain what it is we're looking for.
Yep, and that's what we did before. We had a small group of people.
Right.
Based on all of this, and we
Yeah.
changed the attributes that we wanted to be in there, and we were making tweaks, and I don't think that Audra's aware of the full history of that and what went into it. It's not like, it would be very strange to change the person doing that right now, because there's a lot of, it would be like, oh, Barb knows about boats, maybe she could build, like the repairs to this. It just, I don't believe that.
It doesn't sound like it's really that
It's
complicated.
not that,
Yeah,
complicated.
no,
we have an
no.
app, we just need changes to it, so,
Yeah, we don't really
let me
care who
just,
does it,
maybe we
it's
can
just
make
like,
a,
We're just
But,
trying to get it done because we feel like we could do
Yeah.
something, while leaves are still on the trees.
so have you,
Yeah, doing inventorying these stuff.
yeah, and if you,
Before the ash borer gets here.
Yeah,
have you guys used the field maps on your phones at all?
yeah.
It's pretty slow and, you know, depending on the cell phone signal you get, it can be like,
Yeah, that was one of the things on my list, was to make it so it's possible to download all of that, so
Exactly.
work offline.
yep, exactly. I mentioned
We
to
should
Dave,
get this information to Stan too.
could you download it in a piece of paper with a, street, address, tree, I don't care what it is. I mean, I'm just,
Oh, you want to not use the app at all?
no, want to have the capabilities to use either one. Would be nice to have the capabilities to sit at home and say, Sam and I are gonna go out and we're gonna go down blah, blah, blah streets today. Let's print out a list and then we'll take the phone with us. Sometimes it's so slow. You can stand there for like 10 minutes and the things,
I draw as I go. I have 12 streets that I've
That's
done
interesting. I've
with
never
my
had that
drawings.
desire, because I like using the app.
well, maybe
But
I'm
it would be
using it
faster to
wrong.
put things into it
Oh, yeah,
if all of you could work offline and have it all.
because I think we're ready
We
to,
can just explain that that is sometimes slow and that,
I think we're ready to go out and break into teams and go out and start doing this stuff, but the
right, to
last
finish the
meeting.
existing tree inventory, and
Been
that
ready
was,
for a while.
that was something that was always
What's
supposed
that?
to be
Yeah.
part of
Been
it.
ready for a
It
while.
was
All summer.
expected.
Am I missing?
Yeah.
Am I
We just
missing?
did all the tree planting stuff, and then,
Yeah.
but improving the existing tree database was supposed to be part of this, and it just hasn't been a focus, and I think that the next step would be just a, brief meeting to go over what I just need to get, I guess, maybe permission to do that, to spend a little bit more money with CAI.
Would you, are
I
you,
think we could knock back a bunch of the work, and that'd be very useful.
you guys, did I miss anything, or are you,
No,
did I say anything that is like, what the heck are you thinking?
We've been talking about doing this for a while, and
Right.
just
Yeah,
not.
and it's
not
kind of
getting
like,
it done anymore.
we need to stop, I'm
Since it's-
being wicked prescriptive, but we need
It
to
was
stop talking about it and
initiated
do
to
it, right?
this.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, no, and Aaron is super responsive. In fact, he writes occasionally to ask if we have any, like, if he wanted somebody to give him feedback on this, which was, so it's all, if you don't hear from me in like 4 days on that topic, then
Okay.
harass me repeatedly, seriously.
I don't want to do that.
No, it's helpful, because I've just got too many things swirling around, but that's, we should just,
But,
it's
so the
easy
next,
to have them do it.
the next step would be to meet with Aaron, right? This is Aaron you're talking about?
Yes, and let me just make sure that Dave doesn't think that it's better to first, like, sit down with us and then know, okay, these are the 6 we want these 18 types of trees to be selectable, and we want, just so that we don't have to have Aaron for the brainstorming environmental part.
Right.
But the existing tree, we just need to merge, that we'd already given him all the ash tree stuff, and let me just check with Dave about, and make sure that I'm not inadvertently undoing
Have
something.
you ever used the IMAP invasives app?
Briefly.
You have.
And that all
That's
can be
pretty good.
imported.
Yeah.
That's works, and it's like, you take a picture, your GPS coordinates are already where you are. You take a picture, you enter it into the IMAP database. The only thing is that works offline. It works on my phone. So I don't have to I need GPS, but I don't need to have an internet signal to some big database somewhere, and every time I'm loading stuff in or out, it's going chugga, 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 chug. The cell phone signal doesn't need to be great, and it works perfect. I just need to download everything on my phone when I'm done, when I get to, I do it when I get home, where my
Okay.
Wi-Fi is fast, right?
Aaron
And
did
it works
say
really
that
well.
that can all be, all that IMAP invasive data can be integrated also with the town's database. So eventually, you know, we could go to the, like to here, which is our,
Yeah, that would be
like, this
awesome.
is what the planning board uses. And then, what's that?
I don't know how you're getting to this.
Oh, we should just do a whole thing sometime where, or I should just make a video about how to find all the town's data. Right?
Could we add, what's the name, the line that the right-of-way line to these maps, so that we knew where the right-of-way was? Like, Dave can access that himself,
so
but
can
it's
you.
not in our map, and that would be so useful to know
in
where the
your map.
right-of-way is.
I can look at it on there because the parcel data is in there, you just have to select it.
So it is there.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's just a matter of.
You have to change the background, the base map to the imagery.
So can householders see where the right of way is? Because it'd be nice if they could.
They can. Yep, so, I mean, it's different, they're different. So this is the, you know, just the town's public parcel data, which, you know, I go to all the time. You go under here, you go, you choose like the imagery that you want, and then, but keeping in mind that it's not always 100% correct, like,
There it is, yeah.
but it,
Okay, I've never gotten there.
so this is, there are a couple different ways to find this, but if you go to, one of the things, just, it often works better, is Camden, Maine, GIS in Google, and see what that's a good bet too. So town of Camden GIS maps, allow, agree.
Yeah.
And then the thing is that you just have to be able to zoom in. You can search over here for, you know.
I find that, I've done that at home on my Wi-Fi and it works pretty well. I just find when I'm out in the field with my phone, it can be really slow. And I think one of the problems is we need a light version that isn't, there's a lot going on there with all the stuff and the data and the refreshing and all the other stuff. I'm guessing, but I mean.
I use it on my phone quite a bit out in the field, but you can also have it so that all of
You probably know what you're doing a lot better than I do too, which is probably a part of the problem too. Is I'm not like, if I don't use this like every couple of weeks, I forget. And it's like, oh, what was I hit that? I hit this and it goes, blows up on me and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I know I'm being sarcastic, but I think you get the picture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the software it's got a huge amount of capabilities, but it's probably
Well,
99.
having all of the base maps downloaded on your phone ahead of time is, so
Do
some
they
of the,
stay on your phone though? When the app closes out, they all go away.
so there are different settings.
Right.
So what ours is not capable of right now, like, I access other databases also on field maps, and you can have like, there's a little thing you can check that says like download for offline use. So it would do just kind of what you're saying with the IMAP invasives, where you can do all this stuff, and then once you get somewhere where there's an internet connection. But what I've seen in the past is that ours hasn't been enabled for offline use, which is just, needs to be added to the punch list of things, so that as long as you have, you know, 100 megabytes of space or something on your phone that you're willing to dedicate to this, then all of this stuff would just all be on there already. And
Or
then
the
you're
stuff you wanted on there. Like I don't need the plow routes or the, you know, I don't care about
old
that
powers
stuff.
don't take up any real
Well,
space.
I just
What
use
takes
it,
up space?
I don't really, you know, I mean, I need, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of it I don't need, right?
Sounds like we also just need to do another like field day where, or hour, where
Right now.
maybe we go out for an hour and then we meet with Aaron and say, these
That
are the
would be
6
awesome.
things
like a training.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then we
Um,
you
could,
know what you want.
because there's the stormwater stuff too.
Which we all all agreed was just totally overwhelming to us.
yeah,
Dave said, Dave was like, I think they needed you there for the stormwater
We're like,
thing to.
we're looking at it like, what are we looking at?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a little bit complicated.
yeah, well, you know, I mean,
But I think we can make some good, collectively, and
We-
in
yeah,
a small
we-
group, we can make some good,
yeah, we're the
Data on
boots,
the tree
boots on the
people.
ground, right? We need to make it as easy as possible for the boots on the ground to go out and do recon mission on stuff, right?
Let's
Whatever.
just all go out,
Right?
like, we have to
Because-
just persist in trying to go out and do it, I think.
well,
A
but
little
see,
bit more.
but one of the things Brian was saying is like, we can get some of this stuff done without us all being together on the same
Absolutely.
day.
Yeah. The challenge
Especially-
we had with Dave and like the going out and looking for outfall pipes is we all go together, right? It's like one big amoeba going out together. It's like, you know, I'm busy that day, I can't do
Oh,
this
it's
day. It's
terrible.
too-
Someone's sick, then we
But
have a hurricane, and then, you
Yeah,
know, it's
or But
whatever.
if one of us or two of us could go out and, you know, oh yeah, so we did this and it's a relational database, so we can all go in and update it and, you know,
Yeah,
that's like, cool. That works really well. I go for a walk with Joanne up Bayview or Chestnut, I'm looking around trees when I'm walking with her and I can put stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Totally, yeah, I mean, I do it, that's what I like to, yeah, let's just try to do that more. How would we like to,
So
do it,
so
Annie.
the next step is to talk to Aaron, I guess, or to, what do you think?
Okay, so yeah.
Sorry, I keep looking at you like it's not your problem, Allison, it's
This
our.
is my favorite
It's
stuff to
our
work on.
problem, we just need to figure out a way to make it happen, right?
Absolutely, I think the very best thing to do is to harass me and make sure that because that's, I can,
If Dave was here, I would be saying that to Dave instead.
yeah, and I think that I'm the best person to say, hey, I don't think we should get another person involved right now. I think that CAI knows exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
They're very capable, they've shown they can do this. Not every person at their company can do everything, so
Yep.
just being able to manipulate the town's parcel database and all of that, which I believe is what Caitlin does.
Right, the tax.
I just don't see that she's gonna know how to update our app right now. I think that's unfair. And that we shouldn't wait for that. And that we just need CAI.
Dave's been great to work with, by the way, he's terrific.
Oh,
We
yeah,
want to help
Dave's-
him out, he's like the best. It's just like,
Dave likes CAI too. I think
yeah,
he'll,
we just need
but
to figure
I don't
out
know
how
where
to get it done.
Works Director.
Even, yeah, and then it would be great if we had more of a bigger picture, if he had even if we're not gonna pay him to do this stuff, but he had a bigger picture, understanding of where we wanna go, like put the map, someday it'd be nice to have the IMAP invasive stuff in there too.
we can say all this stuff to Aaron and he can come up with quotes and,
Yep.
I started off skeptical of CAI, thinking like, we should be doing this differently. And over the years, they are just really good. They're doing so much cool stuff for all these other towns.
Good.
And and this is the right time too, because we can make sure that we can get stuff in the budget. So I think making sure the Conservation Commission has money available for
You gotta go soon.
professional mapping, like.
I turned into a pumpkin, I'm
No,
sorry.
hey, welcome to the,
and I emailed you the password for the app, so sometime you can download it and log in.
Okay.
I'm gonna email
Perfect,
you
thank you
guys
so much.
about.
Thank you for the.
See ya.
That's so great to have you. Sorry it's
Yeah.
a little,
Disjointed.
all
I'm
over
here
the place.
for it,
Okay.
whatever it is.
Okay, awesome,
Thanks.
thank you.
all right, I think we killed this one.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape. So we're gonna bug you about getting him on board.
Or
Then we can make
Are we
some,
all gonna be your harassees, or should we?
no, would.
Brian.
I can be-
Brian, you can be the harasser.
You're gonna want my cell phone number, just in case you can.
You have her number?
Brian can harass me too, you know that.
I'll text you though, I wouldn't call you.
She has like about 3,000 unread texts on her phone.
I'll
Somewhere like that.
I'll call her instead.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
She sometimes, she does respond to them sometimes. She does, but how she
No,
can have that
I know
many,
you're
it's
really
like,
busy.
It's only
intimidating.
just that I forget, I'm gonna go talk to Audra right now.
Well, you get things done, which is good. I mean, and that's what we need, right? So,
Yeah, this one, I just know that, like, what I spent a lot of time kind of spinning wheels with thinking that we were gonna do things ourselves with GIS. I took a course myself, I did, like, and all that's great, but when you really want things to be able to happen, you have to have money budgeted and a professional that you already know can do the job.
Right.
And that's what we finally have here with CAI, and
Yep.
I just want to make sure that,
And we're your volunteer workers to get this, to get the data in, what that can be used for whatever we need.
yeah, I
yeah,
think
it's
we're
just time
really
to do
excited
an
about
update
this.
to the,
Yeah.
it's worked, it's been a success story, we've gotten tons done with the tree planting because of it, and we just need to update it so it continues to be relevant and.
Right, exactly, it's sustainable. So
Yeah.
it works, and it's like, we don't have to go back and revisit this every 6 months. And then, to go back to the website thing again, the shade tree, the link and all that, you can see where this stuff we can build a juggernaut with all of our Camden tree stuff, between the emerald ash borer, Louisa's report, even the hemlock woolly adelgid stuff, or whatever, I mean, it could be awesome. And it would just work, right?
Right, yeah, like having all of that stuff, like here on the Public Works website.
Yeah, well, I'm talking for the general public to go, we could have a pointer to that, like, we're at the plant sale or the sea fair or whatever, if it doesn't rain out or whatever. And we have a table and people come by and we have a sheet they can fill up. We also give them a website link. You go use this link, you can go learn about the emerald ash borer, the Asian longhorn beetle, what Camden's commitment is, where the specimen ash trees are, and it's there. I'm talking long-term, not like in 6 months, right? It's all there, so we can use it as an educational tool for our people, for the town, right?
Yeah, I mean, different committees have done that with, like we have, there is the Conservation Commission, what do we have here on our website?
Yeah, there's the emerald ash, that's Louisa's report,
Right, and
which
there's,
is cool, but
so we can put more things on
you
here.
could have a link on there to the shade tree program, and that would go to that the DPW have the data in one place, but a link could be on this page. There's no need to have it redundant, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that kind of stuff, why don't you work on starting a list of those things? Because
Yeah, that's,
those things are within the realm of possible in the very near term. And
all
they
right,
should
we
be.
should do that. And then, so just, I feel like I'm confusing, it's different than the Aaron stuff, but it's still all tree stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that it's different than the Aaron stuff. But if we just work on developing a list of, website improvement
Yeah.
requests, because those are all very, like, having those links and things is, nobody's gonna disagree with that, and it's just remembering them all at the right time.
So-
we can say, on this page, we would like to have these links in the,
Why don't I volunteer to make a wiring diagram, and I'll send it?
yeah, maybe, at
And
least,
you guys
at least since we're here, you
Yeah.
can just do a little, email between us.
Yeah,
This one, here's a link to that, this is a better link for that, whatever, and we'll get a little list going.
right, of what we'd like in there,
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada. The content, some of the content, like what would it describe?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Okay.
Pam suggested, how do I get on the list for a shade tree? Is there a form I can fill out online, right?
Right.
Like that could be on there.
Other towns have done a lot of this, and what you're describing with the mapping too, that they're big cities, a lot of them. I know they have employees doing this, and that's the difference. But it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there, even in Maine, in the different towns, the tree programs.
Yeah, right. I'm sure Portland and other cities have got some really cool stuff.
And we sort of thought this was all gonna happen magically with the GIS, but it obviously takes arm waving for years, so thank you, Brian.
Well,
Especially if you can find examples of things that are working in other towns that you think like, oh, this is what we want. That's
Well,
really helpful. That's,
We did that, we looked, when Keith was waving his arms, which, didn't work in the long run, but it did work. That was all kind of proof, what we were expecting to happen.
yeah, and as a volunteer, I mean, think I could probably speak for everybody. I work best if somebody says to me, hey, late buddy, when you get some time over the next 2 weeks, could you take a hike up Hardin, go down Eaton, Erie Street, and then look at the database and see what the specimen ash tree situation. I say, yeah, great, I can do that, that's easy. It's a beginning and end, it's concrete, it's not like this huge project that I can't even get my head wrapped around, right?
mhm.
That makes sense?
Yep.
If you spend a little time on this, actually, I was looking at Aaron put this together like himself, but it's got, if you keep scrolling down below, there's real estate transfer search. This is the parcel viewer. These are like trail maps for the snowball. We can actually also make requests for things to go on here, but this is the MDOT's public map viewer, which is really extraordinary. You can see every MDOT culvert in the state of Maine.
Oh my gosh.
Every bridge, like they've mapped out a lot of the sidewalks, but it's really impressive what they make available.
That's cool.
Apparently lighthouses is a thing too. The nautical chart, there's all, and then these are all printable maps.
It's a bedrock map?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
It looks
Yeah,
like a
is that
bedrock.
soils
So
We could do that next.
then this stuff is stuff you can just actually like download.
So that's all in that, where you log in, field worker, blah, 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 with it.
No, you don't have to.
No, this is all just public stuff that anybody can go to.
Oh, okay,
So how do we?
Put in Camden, Maine GIS.
okay, I
Honestly,
got
I
it.
found it by,
It's-
I don't know if they
So
went
that's
to
a-
this on the town website yet. I'm not even sure Audra knows about this.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
Are you gonna keep everybody posted on how we get to this magical place?
I'll just send you guys a link to it right now. I mean,
Yeah, that'd be really good.
I found it because I was searching for something online and I was like, oh, look at that. It looks like Erin finished that and it's online. I think I have an email from a couple months ago asking us for feedback. And I don't know if I ever responded to it.
So this is Erin's work.
CAI. They are the ones that developed the tree app. If you look up CAI online too, and if you see other stuff that they've done in other places, it's pretty cool. And then you can say, we want this for Camden.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, when I first met with him, because I thought Camden's GIS stuff was really lame, he said that we were like the lowest budget town that he knew of, really.
Really?
Yeah. That we were just doing, the message to them had always been kind of like, do as bare bones. And I was like, oh, no wonder. But Audra's really into all this stuff
That's great.
too. So and it's the beginning of the development of the budget. So by saying, we want this, to say with the tree app has really been working well for us, all these things, we really want to make sure that we continue to have like professional help. It's
Well, I
good
think
for
we got a plan.
Yeah.
It feels good.
But let me just, before I forget, send out this link to everybody in case it's not anywhere else to be found.
I want to make sure that you guys know that the climate group is having a tough year on November 16th, thank you. 6:30, and this is 5 different towns coming to say what they're doing with climate.
Where is that, Edie?
Here, right,
In this room?
November 16th, 6:30. I'll send this out, it was in the stuff I sent.
Oh, you sent it out to us. Okay.
But I'll send just these meetings, so November 16th, 6:30 at the French Room, and December 7th will be.
6:30?
Good.
Will be at the library, should be at the library because it's a library series, but they're busy on November. So December 7th, no, wait a minute. Yeah. That's what Camden has done and is committed to do, but maybe hasn't. We've got different panelists speaking.
And that's
In
Camden?
climate. What?
That's Camden?
Yeah, and that'll be at the library.
Huh. That's the 7th?
6:30, December 7th.
12th?
And this will go on
1200.
through the rest of the year. I think, I sort of have a vague idea of what's happening in January, but let's just stick with November and December.
Is this Molly's group?
Yes, it's Molly's
Okay,
Camden Can.
so you sent the link out for how to sign up for those, right?
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
distribution list.
Yes.
Mysteriously
And there's-
just happened.
Yeah, I'm just getting this from the newsletter.
Me too.
Conservation Commission sold your email address to.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
right.
I get stuff from AutoZone, I get stuff.
So you know, your idea of, the
Are we ready to
data
adjourn?
that you
I think so, because I have.
All right, so,
Let me just, because the live stream's still going, so.
Yes, we should adjourn.
all right, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second it.